Welcome to the Focus on Greatness podcast with me, Hiram Roche. This podcast, we encourage fathers, husbands, believers, and entrepreneurs to be able to walk into their God-given potential. Hey, what's up, everybody? And I am, as always, honored to be able to be here with you, my Greatness Tribe. Before we even get started in the conversation, if you are watching me live, if you are listening to this on the podcast stream through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it, it's on there. I want you to do me a favor. Surely, if you're watching this live, make sure that you are commenting. Say, hey, Timmy, let me know you're in the room. But then also, I need you to do me a favor, and I want you to make sure that you are liking, that you are sharing this, and that you are subscribed to all of the different platforms that I'm on currently. And so I am truly, again, honored and grateful to be able to be here with you, have these conversations. We're going to have, I would say, a real serious conversation. We talk very honestly and open, and I believe that these conversations that we have are encouraging in different ways and different forms. And so tonight, I really want to have kind of like a real serious dialogue of conversation. Hey, Dad, good to see you on as always. My dad is, I would say, one of my greatest supporters. Both of my parents, they support me very strongly. But my dad is truly one of my greatest supporters. And so, Dad, I'm grateful that you are on and that you are watching. And so tonight, we're going to be talking about the next chapter of what I feel like is what's going to happen and what is happening with the Focus on Greatness podcast. For you that might be coming on for the very first time and you kind of like jumped onto this Greatness Tribe train along the way, I want to kind of take some time to give us some history, context, and then be able to kind of share some things that I learned along this journey. And then share with you what I believe God is saying for me and us to be able to do next. And so the Focus on Greatness podcast actually started back in 2020, June 2020 to be exact. Excuse me. And it kind of came in the midst of a major transition time period that was going on in my life at the time. I had, before the podcast, I was a youth leader. Some would call youth pastor for a little bit for 12 years. And being able to do that effectively, I believe I would say that, and being able to see how lives were being changed and transformed, which that started around the time frame of 2005. I believe I started like the end of 2005. I started to do youth ministry. And so going through that transition and going through all of those things throughout all of those years, the transition happened where the season for me to do that had ended. And just like I believe any season in our lives, there are seasons and times where God will close a door, but he doesn't close a door without having another opportunity in front of you. He always has a plan of what he's doing. He does not just shut things off just to shut things off. Majority of the time, God is shutting doors because he has another door that is open, that is preparing you for the next season that you're walking in, or something, another way that he is trying to be able to take you, a direction that is trying to take you. And so I believe in that season, God had kind of shut that door of the youth ministry for something else that he was preparing me to do. And as struggling in and out of that season because of various different things that was going on, I was sitting back one day and I was having a conversation with someone. And in the midst of that, this portion of talking about a podcast actually came about. And it was this concept and this thought and this heart that, Hiram, your voice still needs to be heard. God might have shut it down in this specific way, but you need to be able to ask God to be able to see how does he want you to be able to do it. And this is an avenue of way that you can be able to do that. So I did do what I normally do. I prayed, I sought the Lord, got some wisdom and some counsel, and felt like this was the leading of where God was taking me. And so I started the podcast again in 2020. And I started with this theme, with this context of focus on greatness. The purpose of that was that greatness is the ability to be able to serve well. And I believe that God has put within every single one of us this ability of being great. We all have greatness within us. But I believe what needs to be developed and strengthened and structured and sharpened is just the ability to serve well in the different places that God has given unto us. It can be in your relationships, that can be at your job, that can be in your friendships, that can be in how you serve in church and ministry. That can be a variety of different ways. But again, when it comes to the context of greatness, the greatness to me is that ability to be able to serve well. I believe Martin Luther King made this statement as a quote that he made, and it goes along the lines of that everybody won't be famous, and everybody won't be famous, but everybody can be walk in greatness. And it's the context that he utilized is this same thought process of being able to serve well. And so I believe that that was kind of the thought, the heartbeat of the podcast, being able to take some time to help people focus on their greatness. And reality is the greatness that we have, again, is already within us. We just have to take the time to develop it, to focus in on it, to sharpen it so that we can be effective in the things that we do, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, no matter how by society standards, how high that looks, how low that looks, all of these pieces, those factors doesn't matter. What matters is what God placed within us and how we take the time to steward and sharpen the greatness that God has placed within us. Now, look, I'm going to take a pause real quick because I need y'all. I already said a whole lot, but I need y'all to make sure that y'all are sharing this. I need y'all to share. I need y'all to comment. And surely if you're watching this live, I need you to tell me, hey. I need you to say, hey, in the comments. Let me know that you are in the building as we are having this dialogue and having this conversation. But tonight, what I feel like as this transition happened, over the years, there has been a lot of things that has happened. You're talking about 2020. We're in 2025. We're talking about a good 5 years. And I have had the great opportunity, I will believe, to release, I want to say, over 220 episodes through the Focus on Greatness podcast. And over that time, I've been able to see how it impacts people. I've been able to join into conversations. I've been able to have great interviews and meet people that I probably would have never met before. Being able to bring certain content to the table that I believe was effective and helpful. And this concept, again, of trying to stay in tuned with the Focus on Greatness podcast. But here is the thing, that in the midst of all of those things, there are things that has transpired and pushed me into, in a sense, that has helped me to be able to grow. One of the things was the release of my first book. Really more so of a workbook, my releasing of my first workbook. I was truly excited about it, but it came from a combination of different things. It came from the conversations that I was having because of the podcast. It was because of the rooms that I was being able to step into, because I was in this certain type of mindset and environment. It placed me in a mode of where I wanted to be able to create something that will assist people, again, to walk in their greatness. Specifically, if they wanted to walk into a business, they had a vision, they had a dream, but they didn't know how to be able to walk into it. They didn't know how to be able to make it effective. That came from this moment in time of these 5 wonderful years of being able to work in and serve in the Focus on Greatness podcast. I've been able to see how it has inspired people because of what I do. How certain conversations have been, for certain people, they'd be like, man, this was right on time. It was something that I needed currently right now. And so all of these things were a part of this journey that I was walking on when it came to the podcast. And again, over all of these years, one of the things that has transpired with me personally is I have made so many adjustments. I remember when I first started the podcast, I had no vision. I'm talking about at all. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I didn't know where I was going to go with it. I didn't know who my audience was. I didn't know the different platforms that I needed to be on. I didn't know anybody at that time that was doing podcasts. I didn't know who to be able to look at, what to go study. I literally just jumped in with no direction. And then over the years, I was making adjustments to be able to, I would feel, kind of sharpen my direction of where I felt like I was going, what I felt like I was doing, all of those different pieces, because again, that's the whole heart of being able to be effective. So all of these years, all of these different things has happened. And all of these years, there has been so many different dynamics of changes and growth moments that has happened with me. And my objective became, I want to make sure that as I'm going through seasons, that I'm leaving my voice on a platform where anyone can be able to reach it. And then it became more focused. Yes, my audience is men. Yes, I know that that is a part of what my assignment is, to be able to help and encourage and build and give inspiration to men. I know that that is a part of my assignment, because that's the majority of the people that God draws to me, is men that need these different forms and different fashions, right? And that's just been a part of this journey. But then I started to recognize, as I communicate a lot about the context of legacy and what we leave behind and who we're leaving it behind for, I started to recognize that these conversations are vitally important, not just for you as my audience, but it's also vitally important for me to leave something that my sons can go back and listen to when I am no longer here. One of the things that I was sharing, I was having a conversation with one of my coworkers not too long ago, and I was sharing with him that one of the most impactful statements in a movie. I have my favorite movies. I have one as like my top favorite movie, which we're not going to talk about that on here. But I have, it's a favorite saying or statement that is made in a movie. It's actually in the movie Black Panther, the original Black Panther. And in this, we have a scenario where the son is now about to take on the responsibility of being the Black Panther. Well, while he's about to take on this responsibility, he has to go into talking into what we would consider as the ancestors, right? So he goes and talks to his father. He sees his father, who has already passed away. And he is basically crying and communicating to his father. And his father makes this statement, which again, still to this day, sticks with me. And he says in a nutshell, my job was to make sure that you were ready for life after I die. That you were ready to be able to live life after I die. And it was a statement that was so strong for me, because I thought to myself, when I think about this context, I'm thinking to myself, are my sons prepared to be able to go through their life journey, be prepared to be able to have the wisdom, the knowledge that they need, the resources that they need, the ability and the wisdom that they need to be able to go through this journey called life? That sometimes goes up and sometimes goes down. Sometimes it's stuff that hits you when you're not prepared, and stuff that hits you when you think you're ready. And all of these different dynamics, the goods that come out of this, and the relationships that you're going to have, are they prepared for that? And I realized that I didn't have enough time to be able to give them all the wisdom, all that knowledge. So my thought process was take advantage of the podcast and have these dialogues and have these conversations while I'm encouraging men, while I'm pouring into the lives of the people that actually tap into the podcast. And they can be able to go back, and it will be something that will be sketched in history, that will always be there, that they can look up and listen and watch their dad communicate and give wisdom to. So with all of these concepts and all of these pieces, that's what the podcast has been. But what I realize in the season, I believe that this month is a season of, or a month of, or time frame of where there's a major shift that is happening. I need you to do me a favor, because y'all watching, those that are on, if you are driving in your car and you're listening to this, I want you to say this. But those that are watching me, I need you to put this in the comment. I need you to say shift. I want you to communicate with me on this one. I need you to say shift, because what I believe is we are in a season of a shift. And here's the reality of where we are currently right now in this shift. In the midst of the shift that we're in, we have to be able to go through this concept and understand that some shifts happen. And when these shifts happen, when these things happen, thank y'all. I see y'all. Thank y'all so much. When this shift happens, when these changes happen, when these things happen, I need us to understand the shift happens, and some shifts make changes that you were not prepared for the change. Some shifts have you make adjustments that you might not understand. And some of the shift shifts you in a momentum to get you ready for, or push you in a certain direction to get you closer to what you are designed to be able to do. And so I believe that in this shift, that God is shifting us in the direction to get us prepared for where we're trying to go. Matter of fact, if we want to put some context to this, the children of Israel are walking around in the wilderness. The scripture allows us to be able to know that they were doing this for 40 years. For 40 years, for 40 years, they are walking around in a circle in the wilderness. But then there became a time where the shift happened, where God says, now y'all are prepared and ready to be able to walk into the promised land, the place that I promised you, the thing that I had told you that it was a sign for you to be able to do, the thing that I had called and required for you to be able to do. Now is the time for this shift. That means no longer going in the circle. That means that no longer going back where you were doing before. That means that there's some attitudes and some things I'm going to change. That means there's some responsibility that I need to shift. There's a shift happening. Why? Because I'm trying to get you now in the direction of what I've assigned for you to do. It's not that the wilderness was not needed. It was needed for the season that it was needed. But now I'm making an adjustment to be able to get you and this people in the place that I've called and created them to be in, and to walk into this next level. And so I believe we are in a shift. And this shift for the podcast, I believe for the podcast is something that I believe is extremely, extremely important. Yeah, Dad, preparing for the promise. Shift must happen. It does. It has to be able to happen. And so in this concept of understanding that the shift is happening, right? But the shift must happen. When it comes in reference to the podcast, I believe that the season that we are in with this shift, I believe the shift of the podcast is this. I believe that God is shifting how my responsibility is going to be in building and impacting the lives of people. Let's make it more plain. I believe that this season of doing the podcast this way, or doing the podcast in general, unless I feel or hear otherwise, I'll say it that way. I believe that this season of doing the podcast has come to an end. If we want to be practical, put this on a business platform type context, that over the length of 5 years, again, this has been 5 years, consistent 5 years, that I have made sure that there has been content on, that we have had conversations, that we have made posts, all of those concepts of things, right? That we have been building one with another. Out of all of these years, there has, when it comes to in reference to our lives and my numbers live, not even replays, and I can even tell you what the numbers look like on a replay, but specifically when we're talking about just live conversation. On a live conversation, normally, I am not getting, on a normal day, no more than 10 people. when it comes to how many people are actually viewing, how many people are actually engaging in these conversations. Those numbers sometimes vary, but at the most, on even on the replay, at a most, you're talking about no more than probably 200, and that might be in a week or two span. So the impact of this podcast, I believe, has been impactful. I do believe that it has been helping and assisting others. The information, the stuff, the content is not going away. So it's always going to be available. But I believe God is shifting me when it comes to this podcast for me to be more focused on this next assignment of how God wants me to do it. I don't believe that the greatness tribe concept and the heart of that is going to go away. I believe that he's going to lean me into another way of doing it, but it might be more private. It might be more private and intimate type setting. I'm not for sure yet. We'll see how that flows, but I believe that I am in a season where it's time for me to shift. Again, I have enjoyed this. I have grown in this. I have been able to learn so much in this. And there have been, things that I've been able to grow in and help others grow in when it comes in reference to a context like this and a platform like this. But I believe that just like what God is doing with me, I believe that God is shifting all of us. And I believe that we have to sit back and look and examine to see what and how God is shifting us. God might be shifting you in a different direction because he's getting you aligned with his will and with his desire. So your shift might be more of a listen, I've been trying to get you to write books, which has been a thing for me. I've been trying to get you to write books, and I've been trying to get you to go over here and do this, and I've been trying to get you to focus in on this, but I have to shift you so that I can get you ready for. Even in the context of it might be relational, it can be business wise, it can be job wise, it can be so many different dynamics, but we have to be able to be sensitive enough to be able to know how God is shifting us. And here's the context. That I was sharing this with my family. Every Thursday, I get an opportunity. Me, my aunties, cousins, my mom, we do a family Bible study every Thursday night. And in this family Bible study, we was having a conversation, and I was sharing with them that sometimes I believe that we are praying for God to do something. We're expecting God to be able to do something in our lives, but sometimes we are not expecting God to shift things. We're not expecting God to change things. We're not expecting God to shut off things so that we can get what we're praying for. And I believe that when we are praying for God to be able to have his perfect will, when we are praying for God to be able to say, God, let me walk in my full authority. When we are praying for God to say, God, God, I'm trying to get this job, or God, I want to have this relationship, or God, I want to be able to do this assignment. When we are praying for God to do that, we have to also know and understand that on the other side of it, there are certain things that God is saying, okay, well, for me to get you to that, we're going to have to shift this. For me to get you to this, you're going to have to change that. For me to get you to this, we might have to remove this over here. Because why? If for me to answer this prayer, there are certain things that I have to adjust to help you walk in what you're believing for. And what you're believing for is aligning with what my call is and what my assignment is for your life. So where we are in this season, where we are with the podcast, is this will be the last official podcast. Now, I do believe that every now and again, I'll probably jump on and say hi. Every now and again, I'm still going to put out certain things, and God is certain things that God is showing me, like, that I'm going to be able to do, that you'll still see me in some form of way. And I do feel that, again, on my heart, I still do feel that the Greatness Tribe is still going to be built and developed, but it's going to be in a different form of way. And so I do believe certain things are going to happen. You got to just be in tune or aware or stay connected, so that you can be able to know what those things are. But again, when it comes in reference to the podcast, as of right now, this is the last episode. So I want y'all to know that I love y'all. And for everyone that has been a grand supporter from the beginning all the way till now, those that have come along the way on this journey, and those that have seen me out and about and have encouraged me, I want you to know I am truly grateful. I am truly thankful, because I believe that it was, again, all of this was a part of the assignment. There were things that I needed to grow in, things that I needed to develop in for me to walk in what God is calling me to do. And this leg of way that God assigned me to do for the season has now come to a close. But that means that God has another way that he is aligning me to be able to still impact lives and to do exactly what I've been teaching over these 5 years, which is focus on my greatness. I love you all, family, and realize this: greatness is within us. That means we have to start within before we can impact without. So let us heal, let us develop, and let us walk this thing out. I love you all, family. Stay tuned. Love y'all. Bye-bye.